told me so. Everybody ask me how I know. I probably been since you told me so. I know. Everybody ask me how I know. I probably been since you told me so. I know.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Pocan Joe, and this is Blastin Stashin Comics. Not really sure. We got one guy. He's decided to go back out to the woods and nature, and Huey's gone join his people in the wilderness. And Spectacular Spider, Grandpa, for all we know, he could be transforming into an actual spider. He is home and feeling healthy. This is your first time here. This is Blaster Stashin. Heavy spoilers. We're going to talk about this week's comic books, and we're going to say good things, and we're going to say bad things. So just know that viewer discretion is advised. We are going to be spoiling everything as we go through this. I'm just going to ruin comic books if you haven't read them this week. Also, you can support the channel. You can always go by Teespring and pick up one of our awesome t-shirts. We have all kinds of sizes there and themes. I'm particularly really liking that Thunderlust one down there at the bottom. That's one of my favorite ones. So definitely, if you have the chance, you can also catch the same show on our podcast. Links are down in the description. So without further ado, let's skidoo into this week's comic books. Also, if you're joining the show, definitely let us know what books you read this week, and we'll definitely get to those and kind of give you our take on them in a much more politer manner, I think. I think that's fair. So first, well, let's hit up some DC this week because they didn't really come out with a whole lot, but there was some interesting stuff. The big talk was that Taskmaster book that came out. So, of course, I picked one up, and yeah, there's your cover. So I don't know if anybody remembers this, but earlier this year and even last year, they introduced us to a bunch of different new superhero teams. Superheroes in them. You had the Super Patriot ones that were out in DC, and then you had the Wakanda Spy thing that was going on, and then there was the Asian one where they were kind of flip-flopping back and forth, but it ended up turning to be the Agents of Atlantis. Remember those teams and their leaders and everything, and how nobody read those comic books? So what we're going to do is we're going to take Taskmaster and Black Widow. We're going to jam cram all that stuff into here because nobody bothered reading it over there. And man, it would have been so much better. Like, they had a good plot. In the beginning, they started with this whole Taskmaster being very entrepreneurial, and he was doing that douchebag entrepreneurial self-talk stuff about business, right? And what, do whatever it takes to, make a buck. And then, like, Black Widow wants to kill him because apparently they killed a friend of Nick Fury's and Black Widow. So Black Widow's going to kill him. And he's scared, which is weird because I'm not getting it, but whatever. All in all, Nick Fury shows up and he's like, yeah, I know you didn't kill her. We need to go find out. You need to, learn how these other people do their stuff so we can get past this weird security code that mimics the body or something. It's so convoluted and so bad. It was just so bad. So yeah, this right here is going to have to be just, I hate to do it because I like Taskmaster. I like the concept of Taskmaster. I like a lot of things about Taskmaster, but unfortunately, yeah, I was going to double blast it. Yeah. In case you don't know, the other guys aren't here, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of playing with things and see if any of it actually works or does anything. I don't know what I'm doing. All right. So that was Taskmaster. Moving on into DC, American Vampire. This is a fun read. It gets a little deep at times, not deep, but just kind of weird and hinky. Like, you don't really understand where you're going on, but you got to remember this entire story takes place in 1976 when things were just a little bit more groovier, man. And it's a groovy story. There's a buddy cop story in here about two agents. They're doing the whole secret agency with monsters. or monster hunters, I guess I should say. Vampires are obviously a threat. There's a guy who used to be a vampire and he's lived for like ever. And then we throw in some sort of heist element as well, where you got to rob a train, right? And then there's a treasure in it. So you got a little Indiana Jones too. You got a bunch of stuff crammed in here. And it's just fun. The dialogue's fun. The sarcasm's fun. It hits on every note. The pacing in it. The action scenes keep you going. And the long dialogue, narration, explanations are kept very short, so you can continue on. Plus, the art's pretty good in it. I'll be honest. I really like the art in it. So definitely, this is a stash for me this week. Let's see here. Superman. I'm just going to go ahead and blast this one right up off the bat because, oh my God. I don't know what's going on here. Apparently, like, Superman doesn't want to fight somebody. And this is not uncommon to him. But in this one, it's like, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fight you. And this alien named Samar has come to Earth to fight Superman specifically, but he will not talk to him or communicate to him in any way whatsoever. And he's just as powerful. He was created to be their alien race Superman. Just to catch you up real quick on the story. So he comes here to take care of Superman because he's been fed some sort of story or whatever from his people. They're battling it out. They're not even battling it out, really. Superman's like taking the hits and keeps on ticking, right? And they take the fight all the way to space, and then they go all the way to Samir's universe, near his planet. And Samir all of a sudden decides that he wants to talk to Superman like, yeah, thank you for your surrender. Just out of nowhere. And I'm like, that's the story. That's what you're leading us with. 2 issues of Superman getting it handed to him and constantly whining to himself about how he doesn't want to fight. And bam, that's where we are. Hey, Huey, thank you for joining us tonight. This is going to be one of our worst shows ever. So make sure you hit that thumbs down or thumbs up if you're watching this on the rewind, so we know if Pocan Joe should ever be hosting again. That would be awesome. Continuing on with DC. Not that there's a whole lot to talk about in DC. Things are just getting worse and worse. And unfortunately, it has to do with Batman. I don't know when the Bat family got so large. Like literally everybody seems like they're part of the Batman, family. There's got to be at least 20, right? Like, comment if you know anything about this. It is just absolutely ridiculous how many Batmans there are, and they're all like weird. Real quick in the chat, Huey jumped in real quick and he says, thanks for jumping on, Joe. Not a problem, boss. I schedule my time to be here for this. That's why I do this. Double S says, I'm here, Joey. It's always good to see Double S. I don't know. The scrolling news bar is pretty great. Thank you. I made a couple of them just to kind of lighten the mood a little bit, because unfortunately I might be a little negative tonight in the comic books if you haven't picked that up already. So the Bat family, and not even all of them, but like a lot of them are meeting. They had one of their little family meetings on a rooftop, right? And we get the same old speech. I need to do better, blah, blah, blah. Batman, 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 woe is me. And everybody else is like, yeah, Batman, you need to be more, sensitive or, have feels. Come find out it was a trap. Somehow or another, this mirror guy is smart enough to hack their communication system and send a bunch of guys to go beat up the Bat family. Like, apparently they didn't think that one out too much, but the Bat family do what bats do, right? They flew away. They just left. That was it. And it was boring. I was like, I read this entire book and I got nothing. The only thing that was kind of interesting is Damian Wayne, he's separated from the Teen Titans. We get a little snapshot in here that he's apparently going to go into the old case files of Batman and kind of find out what's going on. And he keeps seeing a name that keeps popping up. And of course he thinks, old man slipping, why didn't he ever pick this clue up? I'm pretty sure it's going to be a slap in the face later. But I mean, did anybody else read this? Is anybody else annoyed that there's like 50 Batmans and they're like all equally important and all equally garbage? It's so bad. It's so bad. I don't know how else to put it. All right. So moving on. This I'm still up in the air on this one. Definitely, if you read this one, please let me know because I'm confused by this. Double S says, if I wanted Batman to be more sensitive, DC should have Tom King write one or two more issues, right? Like that dude was just sad. All right, so moving on to Punchline, I was able to get my hands on one of these covers. I've been collecting these covers, a lot of these kind of covers. It's been weird. It's a thing. All right, so um, I we get the aftermath of the Joker Wars with Punchline in here and what she's going through, right? So, and if you've been alive over the last year, right, you know that there's a lot of talk of virtue signaling, right? Or people are just doing this to, or being that way to get some sort of sympathy or something along those lines. Well, what would that actually look like if you had to script it out? And they literally put that in here. It was good. Like she's totally playing the public, totally playing onto the podcast thing and hooking, from what I guess, another type of person in the Batman family's little brother. I don't know this character. But he's youthful and he's obviously likes another boy, and they're going to go protest together by wearing the mask of the Joker or whatever. Some things in here were just like, ugh. And I was just like, I don't care about this. Why is this important? Where's the action at? And there's not a lot of action in here. There's just a bunch of reasons why she does what she does, and we don't even know if the podcast that she gave was even the true story. We can only assume at this point. But she's doing a thing where she's trying to get everybody to have some groupthink, giving her sympathy, in order for them to protest her release, so she can't be, offed by the government, right? Because she's going to court, and capital punishment's a thing in Gotham. So they're trying to get some sort of public opinion on this to create some sort of outcry for her. That's interesting. I thought they could have done something a little different in there. Maybe, just like throw one hitting somebody in the mouth or something. Like it's an action comic. But no, we didn't get that. I'm not saying it's a bad story. I'm not saying it's a good story. So that only leaves one other option. That's right. We're going to go ahead and call this one the Whiskey Dick issue. Sad for number one. Just saying. Something I did like this week. Something positive. I loved this comic book right here. This is that part of that Doom Metal. This is Extreme. Infinite Hour Extreme Doom Metal. And of course, we bring Lobo into it. So what would a Lobo crossed Batman character be like from the Dark Universe, right? We got that in here. Not too much of a difference, just a lot meaner, I guess is the way, and dressed like a bat, of course, right? The bat theme's in there. We got that whole biker attitude of his in here, the main man, that whole thing. It was really just fun to see Lobo be used in a way where he doesn't have to be overly villainous or just over the top, right? He can just have personality through a story. A lot of action in it, a lot of gruesome action, and a lot of just smart ass comments. And I'll be honest with you, I appreciate Lobo for that. But in this, we finally figured out why in a couple of issues ago, and normally I don't like that, but I'll give it a pass this time. A couple of issues ago, Lex Luthor and Lobo were after something in the fifth dimension. We'll come to find out it was death metal. Apparently that's a thing. I thought it was just a title, but it's a stuff. So Lobo had to go get it. We finally figured out why that whole thing kind of happened and where they met up to kind of do it. So I'm kind of on board with that. I want to know more about this death metal stuff and how this is going to play a role in this bigger story of the Dark Knight or dark metal or death metal. A lot of metal going on. It's pretty cool. So this was definitely a stash.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why we don't use more of this stuff off to the side. It's awesome. Okay, so Double S says, yeah, didn't pick up Punchline 1. I sensed it wasn't a good issue. And apparently my LCS had a lot of copies till this day. Yeah, like I said, it's not a bad story. It's just, hopefully something else follows it, I guess. Maybe instead of just social unrest. I mean, that's about all that they got out of the entire thing. It was weird. Oh, that is so good beer. All right. So I got a stack of marbles here to talk about. Actually, I didn't get any independents this week. Apparently, my comic book shop was like, no, they're all garbage. I'm not getting any of them. He had no independent. Well, I take that back. He had stuff that I don't read, like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and stuff like that. I just don't read those. Okay, so some good stuff in here. So Marvel Zombies Resurrection. This ends this particular storyline right here, and I must have missed something in this because Franklin Richards all of a sudden had Warlock in him, like just out of nowhere. Like the hive of zombies and superheroes were coming to attack the, Spider-Man and the Franklin kids and Blade and Wolverine was there. Yeah, he was hanging out for a little bit. They were getting ready to attack him, and then like all of a sudden Warlock popped out of someplace, and I was like, what? I don't even want to know where he came from because that would have been crazy. But all in all, it was an okay story. But again, I'm not sure where this whole Warlock thing kind of happened from. It was just weird. But apparently, at some point, we got a quick flashback story where they tried to kind of hint to it. I thought that maybe they would have found this Warlock character, and Warlock from the New Mutants, by the way, that organic, synthetic, if that's even a word, robot hybrid thing. Apparently, it's been hanging out at him. Apparently, it was hanging out at him to keep him alive, too, because apparently he got bit at one point. But I thought they would have kind of found that out when they went to the base that had all the robots in it that were trying to change everybody robots to kind of save humanity. Like maybe they would have picked that up there. Maybe, possibly not. I don't know. Apparently not. So we finally end up beating all the mutants, and we used probably one of the cooler guns that have been made so far. They took Gambit's hand, Gambit, the Cajun dude. They put his hand and they had it hooked up to like a gun type of thing, and they like charged it and blew up Galactus. Yeah, I thought that was funny. I liked when they had these little tidbits here and there. It was really, that part was funny. And then we kind of got a snapshot of them rebuilding their lives because, the things are gone. But we also find out that Franklin Richards kept the head of Silver Surfer. Okay. And it's still talking to him. And apparently the mother, whatever that means, is still out there someplace and really, really, really wants to meet Franklin Richards. Right. So we kind of left on an ominous tone that something may happen in the future. That would be really cool because I would actually read that. So that was I'm going to say that was an in-between issue for us. Just to kind of, yeah. All right. So Strange Academy came out. Oh, I'm so loving this. This is number 5. This is whimsical. It's like a Scotty Young wrote it, but it's like a Scotty Young cover. It's whimsical. It's fun. And there's still some cool stuff going on that you can kind of attach to. And it's just awesome. So we meet our first real set of villains, the Hollow, a few issues back when we finally saw them. And now they have, Chubbums here tied up in the swamp. And the kids just realized that their friend's been missing after door tag. And there was some playing around with them kind of, why are we just now finding out kind of thing. We also get some insight to possibly Doyle. Doyle is Dumanu's son, right? And he's at this school. And apparently he's going to be a bad guy. There's a lot of prophecy going on in there where a lady kind of saw this. The blind lady from the voodoo shop, if you've been reading the issue so far. That was interesting. I like that. There's a possible villain, so there's a one, if you will. That's another thing they made fun of when the kids finally caught up to the Hollow to co-save their friend. One of the Hollows, I guess is what we're going to call them, goes, "Oh, it's the one," and the kids from Asgard are like, why does everybody say that? Like, there's 4 the ones on Asgard. That is the most commonest trope thing, and this made fun of it, and I love it when it got a little meta about it. That was really cool. But what's really interesting about this story is right in the beginning when Doctor Strange and Brother Voodoo are talking, and they're talking about their role as teachers and the school, and it's basically a nurture nature type of argument. What is our responsibility to these kids? To train them to be something, good guys, bad guys, whatever the case may be, however that's defined, right? A specific thing. Or is it our responsibility to just show them what they are and what they're capable of? Should that be the focus? And then whatever comes, right? Destiny versus prophecy, nature and nurture, that kind of scenario there. I thought that was very interesting, and you can definitely kind of catch those themes as you start rolling through this, because these kids have to constantly deal with who their parents are, what their nature is. One of them's literally a zombie, keeps it hidden, so she doesn't even feel she could be herself around her best friends or new friends, whatever you want to call them. So a lot of interesting things in here. Definitely stashing this, and I'll probably keep on following this for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Double S says, let's see here. Strange Academy has been a good read for me so far. I like Scotty Young wrote Harry Potter, right? That's what it feels like. It feels like a cooler Harry Potter story. Like if Harry Potter was an American. Right? Instead of, proper English and tea and all that, he was like, here. That's a good point. Okay. So, as I have promised, I have stuck to my guns to get through this X of Sword thing. So, yeah, let's talk about it. It's a hot mess. It is a hot dumpster fire of a mess. It's actually just as incomplete as it can possibly be. It's a dumpster fire at this point, and unfortunately, I am a man of my word, so I will continue on with this. But let's go ahead and talk about it. So, chapter 14 happens in Marauders. Yeah, I had to take notes on this. Just the inconsistencies of this thing alone are just a hot mess. Was it chapter 14? Yeah, it was chapter 14. Okay, so Marauders. Cheaters never win, right? So that whole last issue where Wolverine stabbed the White Witch, and in this one we get this horrible dystopia of what the future would look like if that happened, and the otherworldly people come and they just kill everybody and everything gets destroyed. And it's the worst case scenario. And then, bam, we're back at the dinner. Logan's standing there like, what happened? And she's like, I just showed you what the future is going to be like. No cheaters. What? That... okay. And then we find out that War, the actual character War, poisoned an appetizer. Well, Logan decides he doesn't want to eat, and Cypher decides to eat it. And he starts dying from from the poison. And their evil character, I thought this was interesting, that on the bad side, we'll call them the otherworldlies, right? The Akors, I think is what they're calling it, or Akors, the otherworldlies. He comes over and saves him. Apparently he's like a necromancer type thing. He can raise people from the dead, and normally they work for his army after that, but he thinks poisoning somebody is such a cowardly thing to do. It's not something that warriors should do. And so he brings Cypher back. And I was like, and then he kind of goes on this, if I would have known I was going to be hanging out with cowards type speech. And I was like, yeah, man, that's right. Right? Like, I'm down with that. And then it just went into more lameness. It just started getting lame again. Like, I thought something cool would happen. And then we find out that our first battle is going to be against Iska the Unbeatable and Captain Britain. Not the one you're thinking of, that his sister, Betsy, nobody remembers and nobody cares. That's going to happen, right? And then we also kind of see why she's called the unbeatable. Apparently, she can't lose at anything. Like they're playing games, stacking cups, like that's a competition or even a sport. And they're doing all kinds of weird stuff with her. No, probably not that weird. Don't go there. But let's just pause for a second and apologize for that. They play a bunch of stupid games that nobody cares about with her, and she cannot lose. And she picks random numbers and like the whole 9 yards. So that's the first battle at dawn. Everybody go rests. Everybody goes to bed. Then they wake up the next day to Excalibur, number 14, chapter 16. Is that right? No, chapter 15. Yeah, glasses help. So, and the Unbeatable lives up to her name. Like, it is pretty much a precursor at this point. It's not some moniker. She literally, but she shattered her, which is weird. Like, she hit her with a sword and she, like, shattered, like, stained glass. We don't know what that's about yet. But, like, most of the book, we're probably not going to be getting a whole lot of explanations on anything because it's all stupid. Also, Excalibur, Cypher and the character Blood Moon get married. You know why? Because that's one of the contests. They're not just sword fighting. And I called that. I was like, this thing's reading like they're going to have them doing other things than just sword fighting. So all these people ran around to get all these swords to do stupid contests. As I will go through this, you will start rolling your eyes in the back of your head because it's just that lame. And it actually happened. So apparently one of the competitions was for Cypher, a person who can understand any language out there, to marry this Blood Moon character who speaks a language that she pretty much made up. And Cypher can't understand it. So he is absolutely fascinated and in love with her. And they're getting married right then and there. And they're keeping a point tally in this thing. And they both got points. And because they went ahead and went through and got married. I wish I was being like metaphorical or obtuse about this. That literally happened in here, and it was stupid. It's like a bunch of incoherent thoughts just got thrown into a storyline, and we're supposed to try to figure it out. I don't know. Also in this book, if you want to call it that, I'm sure that there was supposed to be some sort of, but I'm not buying it. Also, something about Jubilee in here and a dragon that's her child. I dropped X-Men a while ago. This is the first time I picked it up since I dropped it. I think it was like 4 issues in when its new run came out. So that's how long I've been out of it. But Jubilee shows up. She's got a dragon, and their friend's not talking to him. So we're going to go fix this, and apparently that didn't work. So now the White Witch owns her dragon / child. Because she said, "Come here, dragon," and the dragon loves her now. God, I wish the other guys were here because that is about as awkward as it gets. Oh, and then they go back to dinner. They go get some more dinner because this thing is about just food and drinking. Lots of drinking. So we move into Wolverine. Now here's where you know that this story is just a bunch of incomplete thoughts, and they were just literally trying to put something together to kind of host it as a story epic event, but it's not because they ran out of ideas. Okay, so Pog, this character speaks and rhyme. He's basically a giant alligator monster with several arms, right? He's a badass, right? Well, him and Magic, Magic, the superhero nobody really wanted, but somehow we got. And every now and then she says something funny. Yeah. So they're going to square off, and they're about to battle. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, you two are going to have an arm wrestling match. I mean that literally. I'm not being like sarcastic or funny or anything like that. They had to arm wrestle. Now, mind you, Magic in this story looks about, 75 pounds, 75, 80 pounds. And this thing's like literally a ton. Guess who wins? Anybody? You want me to wait a second while you put it in the chat? Yeah, the giant alligator dude with several arms. Like, yeah, literally like threw her across the. Oh my god, it was dumb. I'm like, why? Why is that even a thing? I don't know. Wait, there's more. So the rules of this particular contest haven't really been explained to us in any way, because Wolverine and Storm had to do a drinking contest. Nowhere apparently did it say that you were actually going to fight the other team all the time. That was brought to us, and then some speech about how we're all one or something, or they're all one, or some garbage. So they have a drinking contest. On the other side, though, and this is weird, War and War's ex-lover who killed her husband. There's a lot of drama going on. It's a regular General Hospital going on over on that side. They have to fight, and they literally have to like sword fight. And the rules to that one is the first one that chops off a limb. Like take a limb off. That's it. So old boy remembers, hey, Wolverine owes me a promise when we went to hell, and I gave him a blade. Like, I gave him a sword. And the deal was he had to fight on my behalf. So he calls Wolverine over there. So Wolverine takes off over there, and him and War fight, and he chops off a hand. But Wolverine also is in another battle. This is Wolverine Heavy, hence the title. He has to fight the Summoner, too, in some weird upside-down bullshit world where they're constantly going back and forth. And the thing was, first one to death, right? So you would think the first, if I kill somebody, boom, right? So Wolverine kills Summoner, stabs him, shooties him. Summoner and his team get the point because it was the first one to death, as if death was the finish line. It was stupid. That was an attempt at a play on words and just a hot dumpster fire. So, ugh. Does anybody else care about this review? I think we know where this is going, right? It's just a bunch of unfinished ideas that have been correlated together to make it seem like it's all streamed into one story and there's some sort of meaning behind it. There isn't. There isn't. You can just stop. If you all release me from this book, I will gladly walk away from it. All right, let's hit up the chat. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. So all three of those books. Yeah, I don't want to hit it 3 times because that would make much sense as a story. All right, let's hit up the chat real quick. Let's see what everybody's up to. X of Sword looks very confusing to me. Thank God I dropped Hickman's X-Men after issue 3. Yeah, you saved yourself a couple of ducats there, brother. Double S also says, "Come here, dragon." I love it. That's literally, she was like, "Oh, I want the dragon. Come here, dragon." The damn thing flew down to her. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna hang out with you now. I was like, God, this is why I hate white people. I swear to God. All right, guys. That's all the books that I read this week. So super short show today. Hopefully next week the rest of the guys will be back, so you don't have to listen to my rantings and ravings, and maybe they'll say some good things about some of this stuff. I don't have anything else. Stay safe. Oh, I totally forgot. To all of our veterans out there, happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. Definitely appreciate you guys. Love you. Best way to put that. Also, don't forget, we have T-shirts and stuff like that over at T-Square or Teespring. Is it? I think it's Teespring. You can definitely check that out. I'm partial to the Pocan Joe one and Thunderlust. You can definitely check those out. Also, if you want to listen to us on a podcast while you're driving around town and we say smart things and you want to regurgitate them to your friends, you can definitely check us out. Links are hopefully in the description below. I don't know if I did it right. Maybe. I don't know. Other than that, next week, I'm sure everybody else will be back, and we'll keep stashing and blasting until then, guys. One last comment before we go. Great show, Joe, tonight. Thank you. Appreciate that. Definitely share the show out, too. Let people know that we exist. That would be really cool of you. We'd appreciate that. All right, guys. Without further ado, I'm going to skidoo. Talk to you all later. Bye.